Have you ever wondered why one harsh comment can echo louder in your mind than 100 kind words? Why a stranger's frown lingers longer in your memory than your own small victories? It's not weakness, it's biology. Your mind, shaped by thousands of years of survival instinct, is wired to detect threats more than joy. What once kept our ancestors alive now quietly shapes how we see ourselves and the world. But here's the good news. You are not your first thought. You are the one who decides what stays and what passes. In this video, we'll explore how to outsmart the negativity bias embedded in your brain and use the wisdom of Stoic philosophy to take back control. These 8 powerful insights will help you reframe what hurts, reclaim what matters, and rebuild your mind into a place of clarity and strength. This is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about seeing clearly and choosing wisely. So stay with me to the end and notice which lesson speaks directly to your life right now. Let's begin. Number 1, train the mind to observe, not obey. Imagine sitting by a river, watching the water pass. You notice leaves floating by, some small, some tangled in debris, some bright, some dark. Now imagine each leaf is a thought. Most of the time we don't just watch the river. We jump in, grab a leaf, and let it carry us downstream. That's what happens when a negative thought shows up. One small worry turns into a story, then a storm. And before we realize it, we're drowning in something that started with a single doubt. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus once said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them." And mindfulness, true, deliberate awareness, is what helps us see those opinions before they take over. Mindfulness is not about emptying your mind or sitting in silence like a statue. It's about presence, real, grounded presence. It's the ability to notice your thoughts as they arise, without rushing to believe them or obey them. When practiced consistently, this awareness becomes your inner shield against the noise. You begin to see the moment a negative thought tries to plant itself. You catch it mid-air, and when you can see it, you can choose whether or not to believe it. Here's a simple example. Say you're walking into a meeting and someone barely nods at you. Instantly your brain whispers, "They don't respect you." That whisper becomes, "They probably never liked you." By the time the meeting starts, you've convinced yourself that something's wrong and you're the problem. But what if you had trained your mind to catch that first whisper? What if you could say, there's that old script again, and then let it pass like a leaf on the river? This is where the practice begins. Set aside 10 minutes each day to sit quietly. No phone, no music, no agenda, just your breath and your mind. You will notice your thoughts rushing in, some helpful, many not. And each time you return to your breath. That gentle return is the training. You are not trying to stop the thoughts. You are teaching yourself not to chase them. Over time, this rewires the way your brain reacts. The gap between trigger and response becomes wider. You no longer react, you choose. That is Stoic power in motion. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, often wrote reminders to himself to return to the present moment. In one passage, he urges himself to confine yourself to the present. Why? Because the present is where you are most alive, most grounded, most powerful. The past is memory. The future is imagination. But the now, this breath, this thought, this choice, is real. And within that reality, you have immense control. And it doesn't take long to feel the change. After a few weeks of mindfulness practice, you'll start to notice it in daily life. The email that once ruined your morning now feels neutral. The criticism that once spiraled into self-doubt now becomes something you can examine, learn from, or simply release. You become less reactive and more reflective. People will notice it too. They'll sense the calm in you, the steadiness, and perhaps most importantly, you will feel it. That quiet confidence that says, "I am not my thoughts. I am the observer of them." This is how Stoicism speaks to modern life. It's not about suppressing emotions or pretending nothing affects you. It's about training your inner eye to see clearly and training your will to respond wisely. Mindfulness is not a luxury. It is the foundation of self-mastery. So begin, not tomorrow, not when life calms down. Begin today with 10 minutes and a quiet space. Watch your thoughts the way a wise man watches a fire, without fear, but with respect. Because the fire can either burn you or warm you, depending on how you manage it. And once you learn to manage the fire within, there is very little in this world that can shake you. Now let's move to the next insight, one that will help you reshape your inner dialogue and reclaim control from the thoughts that seek to command you. Number 2, challenge the voice of fear. Have you ever listened to that voice in your head that says, "You'll never figure this out," or "This always goes wrong"? It's not just a whisper, it's a well-rehearsed monologue your brain has perfected over years. But here's the Stoic truth. Your first thought is often a lie, or at the very least, an exaggeration. And it's not the thought itself that causes suffering. It's the belief you attach to it. The Stoics didn't teach us to silence these thoughts. They taught us to question them, to stand before them like a wise judge and ask, "Is this actually true?" When you catch yourself spiraling into doubt or fear, play the role of a philosopher, not a prisoner. Imagine Marcus Aurelius hearing the thought, "This is going to be a disaster." He wouldn't panic. He would pause, reflect, and then calmly ask, "What part of this is within my control?" This is the beginning of reframing. Instead of reacting, you reason. Instead of sinking, you seek clarity. Here's a practical example. Say you're preparing for an important presentation. The night before, your mind begins its familiar descent. You're going to forget everything. They'll think you're incompetent. This will be embarrassing. If you let that voice run the show, it will. But if you pause, take a breath and step outside that script, you can begin to challenge it. Ask yourself 3 simple questions. First, what's the worst that could happen? Maybe you stumble a bit. Maybe you forget a line. Will the world end? Unlikely. Will it be uncomfortable? Possibly. But survivable? Absolutely. Next, what's the best that could happen? Maybe you surprise yourself. Maybe you speak with more clarity and calm than you expected. Maybe someone in the room connects with your message in a way that changes their perspective. That possibility exists too. Your brain just rarely brings it up. And finally, ask this. What happens if it just works out? Not perfectly, not magically, but well enough. What if everything unfolds exactly as it should? What if all this anxiety is just noise, just the ancient part of your mind trying to protect you from something that isn't even dangerous? This technique is what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. But they didn't use it to scare themselves. They used it to prepare. By thinking clearly about the worst, they robbed fear of its surprise. But just as important, they trained their minds to see possibility beyond fear. You are not obligated to believe every negative thought. You are allowed to look at the same situation from a different angle. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And that's exactly what this practice helps you interrupt. It's like telling your brain, "Thanks for your concern, but I'm not going to build a prison out of guesses." When you reframe, you take the raw material of anxiety and turn it into awareness. You shift from helplessness to choice. Now, this doesn't mean lying to yourself with empty optimism. It means seeing the full picture, not just the threat, but also the opportunity. Not just what could go wrong, but what could go right. It means refusing to let a single interpretation define your entire outlook, because your mind is not your enemy. It's just a storyteller, and you are the editor. Start applying this today. The next time your thoughts begin to spiral, take a breath and play devil's advocate, not against your potential, but against your fear. Ask the questions that uncover truth, not just habit. And over time, your brain will learn that not every shadow is a sign of danger. Sometimes, it's just your mind forgetting to turn on the light. Now that you've learned to challenge the voice of fear, let's explore the next insight that will help you transform pressure into purposeful momentum. Number 3, focus on the next step, not the whole mountain. One of the fastest ways to paralyze the mind is to let it stare at the mountain instead of the next step. We all have dreams, tasks, responsibilities that tower over us like massive cliffs. And the mind, ever efficient at detecting danger, interprets that sheer size as a threat. It says, "This is too much, you'll never get there." And that one thought turns into hesitation, then into procrastination, and finally into shame. But the Stoics had a different way of seeing it. They did not climb mountains by thinking of the summit. They focused only on the step they could take today. And that one act of narrowing your focus changes everything. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "Do what's in front of you with precise and genuine care." That one line holds a kind of medicine for the modern mind. It tells us that we are not required to solve the entire problem at once. We are only responsible for the task at hand. This is the power of setting clear, achievable goals. When you break the abstract into the specific, you give your mind a place to stand. Let me give you an example. Imagine you want to write a book, a full manuscript, maybe 60,000 words. Just thinking about it feels heavy. You stare at a blank page and hear your thoughts begin to spiral. This is too much. Who do I think I am? I'll never finish. But what if the goal wasn't to write a book? What if the goal today was simply to write for 25 minutes? Not to write well, not to finish a chapter, just to sit, open the page, and begin. That's it. Suddenly the mountain becomes a step. The brain says, "That I can do." And once that step is complete, confidence returns. This strategy works because it speaks the language of your nervous system. Overwhelm thrives in ambiguity. Clarity is the antidote. The clearer your target, the calmer your mind. When you say, "I will clean the house," your brain panics. But when you say, "I will clear the dishes from the sink," something shifts. That's doable, that's trackable, and every completed task, no matter how small, sends a powerful signal to your mind. I am capable, I am moving forward. This isn't about lowering your standards. It's about managing your energy. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Often we waste it not through laziness, but through indecision, through freezing under the weight of our own unstructured intentions." Clear, achievable goals sharpen the edge of your time and effort. They give form to your ambition. And there's another Stoic layer to this. When you set your goals too large, too vague, or too dependent on outcomes outside your control, you create fertile ground for frustration. But when your goals are rooted in what you can control, your effort, your focus, your attitude, you reclaim your peace. Epictetus taught that we should concern ourselves only with what is within our power. That principle applies here. You don't control the final result, but you do control whether or not you showed up today and did the work in front of you. So begin with one clear goal. Make it so small it's impossible to avoid. 1 page, 10 push-ups, 15 minutes of study. Let each one be a signal to your mind. I'm moving. And from that movement, momentum grows. The mountain is still there, yes, but now you're climbing, not just staring. And if you ever feel tempted to abandon the effort because it feels too small, remember this: an avalanche begins with a single shift. A life is rebuilt one solid step at a time. So don't underestimate the power of that first move. It matters more than you think. Now that we've planted our feet in clarity and momentum, let's explore how your environment, both physical and digital, can either anchor your focus or silently sabotage your discipline. Number 4, own your time or it will own you. When your mind is cluttered, time slips through your fingers like water. And here's the truth most people avoid. Procrastination isn't just laziness. It's fear in disguise. Fear of failure, of imperfection, of facing discomfort. It's your brain's subtle way of avoiding pain by choosing the illusion of later. But what the Stoics knew is that later is not promised. And waiting, overthinking, delaying only feeds the negativity bias that already distorts your view of what you're capable of. Seneca wrote, "While we are postponing, life speeds by." So if you want to reclaim your clarity and your confidence, you must master the structure of your time. Not with rigid perfectionism, but with wisdom, because when you own your minutes, you reclaim your mind. One powerful way to start is with the Pomodoro technique. It's deceptively simple. Set a timer. Work for 25 minutes with full presence. Then take a 5-minute break. That's 1 round. Do 4 rounds, then rest longer. It works not because it's magic, but because it respects how attention actually functions. You aren't meant to grind endlessly. You're meant to focus deeply, then recover. Like a warrior who sharpens the sword between battles. Those breaks make your next effort stronger. Here's a real-life example. There was a student I met who struggled to study for exams. Every time he opened a book, his mind wandered. Hours passed, yet he learned nothing. Then he began using the Pomodoro method. 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off. No distractions, no checking his phone. After a week, he had covered more material than he used to manage in 3. But more importantly, his anxiety dropped. He felt in control again. He wasn't avoiding the task anymore, he was mastering the process. Another tool is time blocking. Instead of leaving your schedule vague, assign each hour a purpose. Write it down. Respect it. Want to read? Block it. Want to work out? Block it. Want to rest? Block that too. This gives your day structure, and structure is freedom. Without it, your thoughts fill the empty spaces with doubts and delay. But when the schedule is clear, your body knows when to move, and your mind knows when to rest. And when you follow through, even imperfectly, you earn your own respect. And there's one more weapon I keep close, the 2-minute rule. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. Answer the message, wash the cup, send the email. These tiny tasks seem small, but they create mental clutter when ignored. And clutter is the breeding ground of overwhelm. Clearing them immediately is like clearing stones from the path. It doesn't just save time. It saves energy. The Stoics believed in urgency, not the frantic kind, but the urgent awareness that time is sacred. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning that the day ahead was a gift, and it should not be wasted in trivial delay. When you begin to treat time this way, even ordinary tasks take on meaning. You start your day not hoping for motivation, but armed with intention. So here's a quiet challenge. Try one of these today, whether it's 25 minutes of focus, or clearing 5 2-minute tasks, or blocking your next few hours. Pick one and move. Then watch how your mood shifts. Time well managed is a powerful antidote to a scattered mind, and if you found one of these useful, type "time clear" in the comments so I know you're walking this path too. And if this message resonates with your rhythm, consider subscribing. We go deeper every week. Now let's move into the next principle, one that strengthens the inner voice so it can lead through chaos, not be silenced by it. Number 5. Show yourself the mercy you deserve. There's a voice inside you that no one else hears. It speaks quietly but constantly, and too often it is brutal. You're not good enough. You messed it up again. Everyone else is ahead of you. We become masters at holding ourselves to impossible standards, punishing our own humanity with a level of judgment we'd never inflict on someone we love. But here's the Stoic truth. Strength does not come from cruelty. It comes from clarity. And clarity requires kindness. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But what if the mind you're trying to master is turning against you? What if every time you stumble, you make it worse by attacking yourself? Then mastery begins with mercy. Think of how you treat a close friend. Imagine they made a mistake. They forgot something important or failed at something they tried. You wouldn't look them in the eye and say, "You're worthless." You wouldn't replay their failure for them on loop. You'd say, "It's okay. Everyone has days like this. You're trying, and that matters. Now ask yourself, why don't you deserve the same?" Here's a simple but powerful example. A woman once trained for months to run her first half marathon. On race day, nerves got the best of her. She ran slower than expected, finished far behind the group she trained with, and immediately said to herself, "I'm so embarrassed. I'm not a real runner." But then something shifted. She paused, sat alone on the grass, and reminded herself, "I showed up. I crossed the line. I ran every mile." That was the turning point. Not the race, but the grace she gave herself afterward. This is the essence of self-compassion. It doesn't mean lowering your standards or excusing every misstep. It means seeing yourself fully, flawed, and still worthy. It means recognizing that failure is part of growth, not the end of it. Epictetus taught that external things, success, status, opinion, are not within our control, but how we interpret our experiences, that is ours completely. And interpretation starts with the voice we use inside our own head. You can be disciplined and gentle at the same time. You can strive for excellence while still forgiving your missteps. In fact, without that forgiveness, you will never have the stamina to keep going. Burnout doesn't come from effort alone. It comes from the internal war we wage against ourselves every time we fall short of perfection. We all carry invisible burdens, past regrets, missed chances, harsh memories of times we disappointed ourselves. But you are not the same person today that made those mistakes. The fact that you're even listening to a message like this says something powerful about who you're becoming. You care. You want to do better. And that's the foundation of transformation. The Stoics weren't cold-hearted or robotic. They understood suffering, and they faced it with courage. But they also understood balance. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." And when we do face adversity, it's compassion, not criticism, that gives us the strength to rise again. So today, when that inner voice starts sharpening its blade, pause. Ask yourself, would I say this to someone I care about? And if the answer is no, don't say it to yourself either. Speak truth, yes. Hold yourself accountable, absolutely. But speak with the tone of someone who wants to see you win, not someone who's given up on you. Because at the end of the day, the way you treat yourself in private shapes how you show up in the world. And the world needs more people who lead with both resilience and compassion. The next insight will take this inner foundation and show you how to build it into a calm, confident presence that others can feel the moment you walk in. Number 6. Shape your space to reflect your discipline. The Stoics taught that our environment might not be fully within our control, but how we engage with it absolutely is. And one of the most overlooked truths in modern life is this: your physical space silently shapes your mental state. Walk into a cluttered room, and without realizing it, your thoughts start to scatter. Try to focus at a messy desk, and your mind starts to resist. Chaos outside often mirrors chaos within. The solution? Create order, not just for aesthetics, but for clarity. There's nothing superficial about tidying your space. It's not about decoration, it's about direction. When you remove distractions from your environment, you remove friction from your attention. Your space becomes a mirror of intention. Seneca once wrote, "Order is a great part of liberty." He wasn't only referring to the laws of society. He was speaking to the personal discipline of living in alignment with your values, starting with the environment you choose to exist in each day. Let me give you a simple example. A writer I know used to struggle with procrastination. Every morning, he would sit down to work, only to be distracted by loose papers, scattered notebooks, and digital clutter. Then he made a rule. Each night before bed, his workspace had to be reset. Laptop closed, desk cleared, lighting adjusted. In the morning, the change was dramatic. He sat down and the calm of the room told his mind, "You are here to create." And he did. His productivity didn't increase because he tried harder. It increased because his space stopped fighting him. There are small, powerful changes anyone can make. Start by decluttering. Not everything needs to be hidden, just intentional. Keep only what supports your focus. Next, control the noise. Whether that's through noise-cancelling headphones, a soft instrumental playlist, or even a simple fan humming in the background, sound matters. It's one of the fastest ways to either sharpen or scatter your attention. Then there's lighting. Bright, natural light signals alertness and presence. Dim, warm light invites calm. Use this to your advantage. Let your space support the state of mind you need, not the one you're trying to escape. Even a small shift in layout can lead to a big shift in energy. Move your desk near a window. Replace one harsh bulb. Add a symbol of focus, a journal, a quote, even a stone you place intentionally. These gestures speak quietly to your subconscious. They say, "This is a place of purpose." And when the world outside is uncertain, having a space that reflects inner order becomes more than comfort. It becomes strength. Stoicism is often seen as a philosophy of the mind, but it's deeply rooted in practice. Epictetus reminded his students to take care of what was within reach, and your space is always within reach. A clean environment won't fix every problem, but it removes one layer of resistance. It gives your mind fewer reasons to wander and more reasons to return. This isn't about becoming obsessive, it's about becoming intentional. When you walk into a space that's designed for your growth, your energy responds. You don't have to fight to find focus, it begins to rise naturally. And as you begin to value your environment, you begin to value your time differently. You stop waiting for motivation and start building momentum. So take a moment to look around. Ask yourself, does this space reflect the person I want to be when I'm at my best? If the answer is no, don't criticize. Just begin. Shift one thing. Remove one item. Adjust one corner. And soon, the atmosphere around you will echo the clarity within you. Up next, we'll go deeper into how your energy is affected not just by your surroundings, but by the way you care for the one vessel you carry through every experience, your body. Number 7, let adversity sculpt your strength. Every challenge is a teacher, every obstacle an invitation, but most of us are conditioned to see difficulty as danger. When life tests us, we tighten up. When we stumble, we tell ourselves, this must mean I'm not good enough. But the Stoics offer a powerful shift in perspective. What if every hardship is shaping you, not breaking you? What if discomfort isn't a punishment, but a pathway? Marcus Aurelius faced wars, betrayals, loss, and illness. Yet in his meditations he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That is the essence of a growth mindset. Not just believing that you can grow, but seeing every setback as the very tool that carves your character. Too often, we treat failure as a mirror of our identity. We think it reflects who we are at the core. But that's not truth, that's habit. A growth mindset rooted in Stoic wisdom understands that failure reflects where we are today, not where we are destined to stay. The Stoics didn't strive for ease. They sought endurance. They didn't pray for comfort. They trained for clarity. Here's a powerful real-world example. A young man applied to his dream university. He worked tirelessly, prepared every detail of his application, poured himself into the essays, and yet he was rejected. At first, he internalized it. He thought, "I'm not smart enough. I should have known better." But then he remembered a lesson from Stoicism. What happens is never the whole story. How you respond is where the meaning lies. So he took a different path. He enrolled at a smaller school, focused on his craft, built relationships, and 2 years later transferred into an even better program than the one he had originally dreamed of. What changed his trajectory wasn't luck, it was mindset. That kind of growth doesn't come from blind positivity. It comes from understanding that your present struggle is not a sentence, it's an apprenticeship. Life is constantly shaping you, testing your ability to return stronger. If you run from every challenge, you never meet the person you could become on the other side of it. Epictetus reminded us, difficulties are things that show what men are. He didn't say to avoid difficulty, he said to rise through it. Because every time you stretch beyond your comfort zone, you reveal another layer of strength you didn't know you had. The mistake isn't in failing. The mistake is in thinking that failure is final. A growth mindset is a daily practice. It's how you respond when things don't go your way. It's what you say to yourself when the results fall short. And it's the willingness to ask, what can I learn here that will serve me tomorrow? Even the worst experiences carry something useful. The Stoics believed that fortune changes, but character is earned. And this belief changes everything. It changes how you see rejection, how you handle criticism, how you approach fear. When you stop seeing challenges as threats and start seeing them as sculptors, you begin to walk into discomfort with purpose. You no longer panic when things get hard. You prepare, you observe, you adapt. And here's the truth. No one is born with this mindset. It's cultivated, moment by moment, decision by decision. It's the quiet voice that says, I didn't succeed today, but I learned, and I will return wiser. That voice gets stronger every time you use it. So ask yourself, what challenge in your life right now might be the very thing designed to prepare you for what's next? What discomfort is trying to teach you strength if you would only listen? The answers won't come all at once, but if you stay present, keep asking and remain open, growth will meet you where you stand. As we move forward, let's take this inner resilience and bring it into the realm of recovery. Because after every effort, every battle, there is one thing that restores our clarity and strengthens our mind, and that's where we're headed next. Number 8. Care for the body that carries your mind. The Stoics believed that the body and the mind were not separate domains, but partners in the pursuit of virtue. And yet today, many of us treat self-care as an afterthought, something to indulge in only when everything else is done. But how can a weary body carry a clear mind? How can a restless mind make wise decisions? The truth is simple. Self-care is not selfish. It is strategic. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor and burdened with the weight of a crumbling empire, still reminded himself to tend to the needs of his body, not with indulgence, but with discipline, sleep, food, movement. These were not distractions. They were the foundation upon which calm and clarity were built. Think of your body like a tool. If a craftsman neglects his tools, they become dull. The same applies to us. When you don't sleep well, your thoughts become reactive. When you skip movement, energy stagnates. When you ignore hunger or flood your body with junk, your focus fractures. It doesn't take long to feel the consequences. And yet, when you restore those simple habits, the mind follows. The fog lifts. Decision-making sharpens. Emotional resilience returns. Let me give you a real example. A young man struggling with anxiety began waking up each morning in a panic. He tried everything, books, affirmations, even therapy, but nothing stuck. Then, at a friend's urging, he made one change. He committed to sleeping before midnight and walking for 30 minutes each morning. After 2 weeks, something shifted. He wasn't fixed, but he wasn't spiraling. The chaos had softened. Why? Because his nervous system was no longer running on fumes. The body was cared for, and the mind took the cue. Self-care isn't about spa days or comfort food. It's about consistency. It's about honoring the vessel that carries your thoughts and decisions each day. Balanced meals, quality rest, movement, hydration, even small breaks during the day. These are quiet disciplines, not glamorous but powerful. You don't have to overhaul your entire life. Just begin where you are. Eat with intention, sleep with discipline, move because your mind needs the release. And when you feel resistance, remember, you are not weak for needing rest. You are wise for protecting the strength you've built. Now that we've explored how to anchor your energy, it's time to close with one final reflection, one that brings all these lessons together and reminds you of the power already within you. No thought is stronger than your decision to rise above it. The mind may whisper doubts, replay old fears, or resist your growth, but you now hold the tools to respond with clarity, not confusion. If one of these practices stood out to you, let it become part of your daily rhythm. Type calm mind in the comments to mark your starting point. And if this message helped bring you even a little more peace or perspective, feel free to subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. You're not just rewiring your thoughts, you're rebuilding your life, one clear choice at a time. The next video will take you even deeper into that journey. Keep going, you're closer than you think.